Cell membrane, structure, composition and functions. Good morning everyone. Today we will discuss one of the most important structures of the cell membrane, also known as the plasma membrane. The cell membrane is a thin, flexible covering that surrounds every living cell. It separates the internal contents of the cell from the external environment and controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell. Besides acting as a protective barrier, it plays an essential role in communication, transport, recognition, and maintaining homeostasis. By the end of this lecture, you should understand the structure of the membrane, its components, different transport mechanisms, and its clinical importance. What is the cell membrane? The cell membrane is the outer boundary of all living cells. It is approximately 7 to 10 nanometers thick, making it extremely thin and visible only under an electron microscope. It surrounds the cytoplasm and protects the cell from harmful substances while allowing essential nutrients and oxygen to enter. The membrane is described as selectively permeable, meaning it allows certain substances to pass while restricting others. This selective movement is essential for maintaining the internal environment of the cell. Without the cell membrane, cells would be unable to regulate their internal conditions and would not survive. Structure. The structure of the cell membrane is explained by the fluid mosaic model, proposed by Singer and Nicolson in 1972. The membrane mainly consists of a phospholipid bilayer. Each phospholipid molecule has a hydrophilic, or water-loving, phosphate head and two hydrophobic, or water-fearing, fatty acid tails. The phosphate heads face the watery environments inside and outside the cell, while the fatty acid tails face each other, forming a stable barrier. Embedded within this bilayer are proteins that perform various functions such as transport, signaling, and enzymatic activity. The membrane is called fluid because phospholipids and proteins can move sideways within the layer, making it flexible. Components. The cell membrane consists of four major components. The first component is phospholipids, which form the basic structural framework of the membrane. The second component is proteins. These proteins may be integral proteins that span the membrane or peripheral proteins attached to its surface. They function as channels, carriers, receptors, and enzymes. The third component is cholesterol, which is present mainly in animal cells. Cholesterol maintains membrane fluidity and provides mechanical stability. The fourth component is carbohydrates, which are attached to proteins and lipids, forming glycoproteins and glycolipids. These carbohydrates help in cell recognition and immune responses. Functions. The cell membrane performs numerous important functions. Its first function is protection by enclosing the cell and separating it from the external environment. Secondly, it regulates the movement of substances into and out of the cell through selective permeability. The membrane also contains receptor proteins that receive chemical signals from hormones and neurotransmitters, allowing communication between cells. Carbohydrate molecules on the membrane surface help the immune system recognize normal body cells and identify foreign cells. Finally, the membrane maintains homeostasis by controlling the internal balance of water, ions, nutrients, and waste products. Transport. Transport across the cell membrane occurs through several mechanisms. Simple diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration without using energy. Facilitated diffusion also moves substances down their concentration gradient, but it requires membrane proteins to help larger or charged molecules cross the membrane. Osmosis is the movement of water through a selectively permeable membrane from an area of lower solute concentration to higher solute concentration. Active transport requires ADP because substances move against their concentration gradient, from lower concentration to higher concentration. A common example is the sodium-potassium pump. These transport mechanisms ensure that cells receive nutrients while removing waste products efficiently. Cell junctions. Cell junctions are specialized structures that connect adjacent cells. Tight junctions create a leak-proof seal between cells and prevent unwanted substances from passing between them. They are common in the intestine and urinary bladder. Desmosomes provide strong mechanical attachments between cells, allowing tissues such as skin and heart muscle to withstand stretching forces. Gap junctions form channels that allow ions and small molecules to move directly between neighboring cells, enabling rapid communication, especially in cardiac and smooth muscle tissues. Together, these junctions maintain tissue integrity and coordination. Clinical importance. Defects in the cell membrane can lead to several diseases. In cystic fibrosis, mutations affect chloride ion channels, causing thick mucus to accumulate in the lungs and digestive system. In familial hypercholesterolemia, defective LDL receptors prevent cholesterol from entering cells efficiently, resulting in high blood cholesterol levels and increased cardiovascular risk. Membrane abnormalities are also responsible for disorders such as hereditary spherocytosis, where red blood cells become fragile due to defects in membrane proteins. Understanding membrane structure is therefore essential for diagnosing and treating many diseases. Quick revision. Let us summarize today's lecture. The cell membrane is a thin, flexible, selectively permeable barrier surrounding every cell. Its main structural component is the phospholipid bilayer arranged according to the fluid mosaic model. Major components include phospholipids, proteins, cholesterol, and carbohydrates. The membrane performs protection, transport, communication, and recognition functions while maintaining homeostasis. Transport occurs through diffusion, facilitated diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Finally, remember that defects in membrane proteins and transport mechanisms are responsible for many important clinical disorders. Thank you. Questions for students. What is the main structural component of the cell membrane? Explain selective permeability. Differentiate between diffusion and active transport. Why is cholesterol important in the plasma membrane? State one disease caused by membrane dysfunction.